Welcome back to another episode of Canes Local. It is episode 48, and I am, as always, with my two co-hosts, Cam and my father, Paul, as well with us. We're going to be taking a look at the two games Carolina played this week, a tough 5-4 shootout loss to Columbus, and then a nice 3-1 victory over the defending Stanley Cup champs, the Florida Panthers. And then we're going to take a look at what happened to Andrei Svechnikov. Because we were expecting this promising young star, and he just seems to kind of be simmering right now. So we're gonna dive into what we think might be going on there. We're gonna take a look at the NHL playoff picture, and then a look at what's ahead next week for Carolina. We're gonna jump right into it. Carolina comes off loses 5-4. I'm thinking I'm remembering correct. It was 5-4, right?
Maybe it was 4-3.
It was 4.
Maybe it was 4-3.
4-3.
Yeah.
That was the only, because I remember the other game was 5-4, and I was like halfway through, and I'm like, hold on, let me. Then this is how we do it. It's just let's see what it was. 4-3. So it was 4-3 shootout loss. The first game was 5-4. I thought Carolina actually put together a complete 60 minutes ish in that game. I felt like it was a relatively good game by us overall. In all honesty. I think that was probably the one game where I'd be like, you know what, that one might fall on the shoulders of Coach Ed Cobb a little bit. 2 goals. I mean, it's tough. Yeah, I agree, because 2 of the goals really doesn't have a chance on because they're weird deflections and just crazy caroms or something like that. But I'll pass it over to you guys. What are you guys' thoughts on that Columbus game?
Yeah. No, I think it was a funny game all the way around. I mean, I thought we played your 60 minutes ish is a perfect way to put it, because,
there's like 20 seconds here or there where it was just like a calamity of errors, and you're like, God, like what the hell just happened?
That or stupid, and I won't jump on Svech just yet. I'll get to him later, but I think it came down to what I think we said in our pregame is, we have to control Marchenko, which we didn't do. We gave him opportunities, Carey loses a stick, breaks a stick, goes to the bench, creates an opening. So it's just one of those things that, Columbus they're a really good hockey team, and you cannot give them any gaps, because they'll take advantage of it, especially when you got a guy like Marchenko. And it's funny because I was listening to the broadcast and I heard a name come up, and as soon as it came up, I was like, that's exactly who I was trying to picture this guy as.
Ilya.
But it's Ilya Kovalchuk. He's the exact same player, and he's just one of those dangerous threats from that side of the ice, and you cannot give him time, space, because he'll make you pay for it, and that's what happened. And the Canes, as I said, they didn't play bad, but Columbus played equally as good, and we lost the goaltending battle and in a shootout. So it is what it is. We get a point, but still, that other valuable point in the Metro could loom large down the road. The way things are going for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, I think overall, they played well. I just think it's one of those where it's tough to put a full 60 together. It really is, and I feel like even watching other games, most teams don't put a full 60 together. You have dominant for maybe 50-40 minutes, you're going in the right direction, and then you have take 10 minutes off here and there. So I think that's more of it, is they just have to find a way to put almost at least as close as they can.
Got to put 60-ish minutes together, and majority of the time you come out on the right end of that game. It's just the Columbus took every one of their opportunities they were given, they took it, and then on top of that, they got a lucky goal off of a kind of a cross crease that just hits off Jarvis's foot and goes in the net. Like, it's one of those games that it's hard to blame Carolina for, but also it's just like the gods were against us, and the hockey gods were against us in that one. The bounces were going Columbus's way, and I mean, hats off to them. You earn your bounces. They've been playing really good hockey.
Yep.
Yeah. They didn't waste any opportunities.
No.
So
yeah,
they're going to be a good. I already see them as a good team.
They're a very opportunistic team right now, and I think that they're probably 3 or 4 players away from being a genuinely cup contending team.
It's a really good team.
Yeah,
I do think they need a goalie of some sort. I still don't think Merzlikins is the guy. But overall, they're a really good team. But yeah, I mean, like you said, the Canes got to put together a full 60 against anybody, and especially against those good teams for sure. Like, because
Yeah,
Columbus is starting to get into that
they
conversation.
are.
I think they're better than probably 3, maybe 4 teams in the
Yep.
Metro right now.
Yep.
So, I mean, they're right there. I mean, they're taking over spots of some teams that we thought were going to play well, but yeah, they're doing good though. They're a really
Yeah.
good team, and the Canes had to bring it, and they brought it for most of the night, but not. They didn't bring it for the full 60 like they did against Florida.
I think what the one thing we need to look at too is when you look at the goals, like we say they came off bad bounces and this, that, and the other, but at the same time, you look at the second goal. I'll use the second goal as the example. Is Burns gets beat to the outside, is so the speed factor takes over. He's trapping the guy from behind. He loses his footing. He falls into Kochetkov, and they score. That's Marchenko's, I think, his second goal. So, and then we shouldn't have been on the power play. They shouldn't have been on the power play. I mean, here's what I'm going to jump on Svech. He cannot take that stupid ass penalty. It was a dumb penalty. I don't care what anybody says. He should not be doing that. It's behind the play. It has no impact on the play. He did it because he's pissed off about something, whatever. He's just being a baby, and he can't do that. And I mean, you guys saw my text. I mean, I would have put his ass on the bench and said, here you go, ride the pine for the rest of the game. But they didn't do it. So I think he's, we'll talk about him later, but, we could have controlled and it was in our control to control those goals, and we didn't do it. And I think, and to your point, Kyle, Columbus took advantage of it and made us pay for it dearly. And it rode on the shoulders of Karil Marchenko. I mean, so he's a good player, no doubt about it. I take him all day long and twice on Sunday.
100%. My only thing I'm going to say on that penalty is, yes, I agree. Not the right time to take a swing at it. It wasn't much. Let me preface that. And if you're number 19 on Florida, you get away with that 100 times in a game. So I don't know why the rules are different for certain players, but I get it. Again, I mean, that's a great segue to move on. Carolina comes into a nice, the cozy home of the Florida Panthers and beats them 3-1 on home ice against the defending Stanley Cup champions, 2-1 with an empty netter. But that is about the closest to a full 60-minute performance that we've seen out of the Carolina Hurricanes all season. I mean, just top to bottom, yeah, we had our mental lapses. You're going to have those in a game. You're going to have your turnovers that just sometimes they're forced turnovers, and that's good on the other team, but sometimes they're unforced. But how do you deal with them? I thought Carolina did everything right in that Florida game. Yeah, they do give up the one goal. Tough bounce. It is what it is. But, I mean, top to bottom, Kochetkov played really good. He just has to play against Russian goalies, apparently. That's like once he plays against a Russian, yes. He is Vezina champion goalie.
I don't understand.
Put him up against anybody else, and but put him up against a Russian, he's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I think the other thing with that game is, and I think if anybody goes back and I'm going to give you some props here, Kyle. If anybody goes back and listens to the pregame, if the Canes were listening to our pregame, they did exactly what we said they needed to do, and they did it. They were physical. They punched back. They didn't take any crap, and they played with some speed, and they controlled the neutral zone. And yeah, we got turnovers, but they're also the Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
So it's not
Stanley Cup champions.
I mean, come on. I mean, so that's going to happen against a team like that. It's how you react. And Kochetkov made the saves when he needed to make the saves, and I think that was the difference. He was the better goaltender, even though he saw fewer shots. He saw some pretty good shots and some quality grade A shots. So I think that was the biggest thing is we got to our forecheck. Aho is doing exactly what I think Aho needs to do. He's physical. He's in the face of Tkachuk. He was in the crease. He was where he needed to be. And you said it last week, Kyle, he's the leader of this team, and he is. And he showed it last night.
I mean, when you have Aho going toe-to-toe with Tkachuk the entire night, and he's not backing down, that's what you want to see. And even Svechnikov, that was the one positive I took away from that. He didn't back down from anybody. He was right in Tkachuk's face the entire night as well, too. I mean, the whole team did a great job. But, Cam, I do want to pass it over to you. just outside of the crazy physicality, what was it about Carolina's game that was just different last night versus previous nights where it's like, we looked at it and it looked like a whole different team out there. I mean, it wasn't in my opinion, maybe Florida laid an egg. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe they just didn't have a good game, but it felt like it was pretty dominant one direction for a majority of the night.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just you get that bounce early. You get on the first shift, you get that bounce that gives you that goal, and that just snowballs from there. Like they kind of, I feel like the last month, maybe month and a half, it feels like they're always giving up an early goal. Like they've given up so many early goals where it's just immediate. And sometimes it works in your favor, like in that Rangers game where they end up coming back after getting scored on in the first shift. But getting that early goal is huge. And I think they kind of built a whole game off of that first shift. So, that was big for sure. And then obviously I think too, it's just how many block shots did they have last night? I feel like everybody was eating pucks.
Mhm.
And I haven't seen that out of a Canes team. I mean, my God, probably some 2 years,
You know what
3
stat I
years.
saw, Cam?
They were eating everything. Like they
Mar-
weren't letting stuff get through.
Martin Necas had 3 block shots.
I know.
last night.
I was
That's
gonna
when
say
you
the
know the
same
team's
thing.
selling out. Is
Again,
when
that's-
Marty Necas has block
think
shots on the.
That is such an underrated stat to show the willingness of a team to just grind out a game. I feel like the Canes have struggled in grinding out games as like the close games. I feel like they always lose the close ones. I don't know why.
They only counted us as 16 block shots. I just
That's-
really
it
find
seems-
that
that seems really
extremely
low.
hard to believe.
I know, because I mean, it's like everybody. I saw everyone block a shot. I feel like I don't think I saw one player didn't block a shot last night. So I think that was huge too. It's just their whole demeanor as a team changed
They
from
don't have Martin down
skill
or
and
Necas
speed
down for
to
1 block. I saw him
speed
for
and,
3 at least. I know
drive
that.
it down you. So
Okay.
yeah,
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention at all. They have Necas down for 0 block shots. I counted
Oh, wow.
3 myself. I know for a fact I was like he blocked. I mean, it genuinely was blocking shots. Yes, sorry, Cam. Go back to your point. I saw that and that blew my mind. The stats
no,
guy
yeah,
is
you good.
the NHLer.
Yeah, I mean, I just think overall they had a really solid game, front to back. Everybody did too. Like everybody played well. It was all
Mhm.
20. I think Juha Jaska came in for his first game in the NHL and he fit the bill. Like you give props to obviously to Tulski and his whole team for knowing a direction and saying, not bringing up necessarily the best guy, but bringing up the guy that they know can give them high execution in Rod's system. Basically plug and play pieces. And that's kind of what they've been doing, because a lot of teams would have just brought up the best guy, like skill wise or whatever. But overall, bringing up a guy like that fits the system.
Yep.
I mean, they didn't miss a beat. Like it looked like he had been there all season.
Mhm.
Especially against a team like Florida.
Exactly.
That is so massive because against a team, not to rag on anybody, but playing a San Jose or somebody like that, maybe bringing up a skilled younger guy where they can get a little experience in the end. But against a team like Florida, you need a guy that's going to do everything correctly and not have to be asked again. Like, that's not a teaching point. Jaska, 26 years old. He's played a long time in the Finnish leagues. He's come over. He started to adapt to the AHL, everything along. He gets it. He understands what it's like to be a pro, and that is very valuable against a team like that. One guy, before we do switch over to the next topic, I just want to make note of Jesperi Kotkaniemi. That was the single best game I have seen you play since putting on a Hurricane sweater, possibly putting on an NHL sweater. That was by far, he didn't get a point on the night, and I don't care. That was by far his best performance I've seen. He drew a penalty early in the game. Everything he did in that game was correct, and I really bring it down to I think he's finally on the right line. That's the line he needs to be on. He needs to be centering a third line with a guy like Martinook and with a guy like Carrier, because he can play that style of hockey and he understands that style. He's very Jordan Stahl-esque. And in all honesty, I thought Jordan Stahl looked really good on that second line as well, too. But with Jack Drury coming back, the one thing I'm going to plead, Rod, please keep Kotkaniemi with Martinook and Carrier on that third line. If that's what we get out of Kotkaniemi, Jordan Staal is going to play like Jordan Staal, kind of wherever you put him in the lineup. It's not going to flutter too much. We need that out of Kotkaniemi. So if that's what he's going to provide on that line, give me more of that 10 times over. That was a sight to see last night. I mean, the second goal, the game-winning goal, all because Kotkaniemi takes his ass to the front of the net.
Yep.
And then Tkachuk does what Tkachuk does. How he doesn't get a penalty or there's no delayed penalty on the play, it blows my mind. That's what I'm saying about like Svechnikov. That was it was a slash, it was behind the play. That's a love tap in comparison to the choke slam Kotkaniemi got in front of the net from Tkachuk. But anyways, I'll digress.
Like, no, I agree with you. He had an exceptional game last night. Exceptional.
I just felt like top to bottom, probably his best performance in the NHL so far, and I want to see more of it. I love when Kotkaniemi plays well. But we will move right along. One of our big key pieces to the lineup, and he has not been playing up to the standard that he kind of set for himself in his second season. I think he had 71 points in his second season in the NHL. Yes, has had some injury troubles, especially that ACL tear 2 seasons ago. That definitely seems to have hurt him a lot. But we're going to talk about Andrei Svechnikov. He is 38 games played, 12 goals, 15 assists for 27 points. He's also a -7 on the season as well, too. I know plus minus goes, a lot of people don't like it because it does depend on a lot of different things and a lot of different circumstances. But it does also prove that he's on the ice more than he's getting scored against, more than he's on the ice for goals for. But we look over his career stats, and in his second season in the NHL, so first season, 37 points through 82 games. Second season, in 68 games played, he had 61 points. He was on pace to pretty much being a point-a-game player. His third season, 55 games played, 42 points, and then 78 games played in the 2021-22 season, 69 points, and now 64 games played, 55 points. 59 games played, 52 points, 38 games played, 27 points. Ever since that year where he was on pace, basically, maybe the year where he had 69 points in 78 games, that was his all-star season. Outside of that year, I felt like he hasn't ever taken a next step, or even really, I'm not even so much taking a next step. I just don't feel like he's gotten any better. He might have even gotten a little bit worse since his injury. I'll pass it over to you guys to kind of get your feel of it, but what are you getting out of Andrei Svechnikov? Because I'm making $9.18 or whatever $1 million he's making. It's just, I expect more out of him, to be completely honest.
Yeah, no, and I think everybody does, and everybody should. And he should out of himself. I mean, I think, and I'm not saying he's holding back anything, but but it just seems like since he's been hurt and come back from that ACL, he's come back from all those injuries. He doesn't play with the same jump and I guess physicality of his game. I mean, he shows spurts of it, but he doesn't seem to have the same speed as he had, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know if it's still a nagging issue with him from an injury standpoint, but I just think that he's one of those guys, and we said it from the beginning of the season, that for us to be successful, we have to have Andrei Svechnikov have a good year, and he's not there yet. How to fix it? Who the hell knows? But it's obviously he's got to be the one to fix it. So he's got to be the one to step it up and change whatever he's doing to make it. I mean, I think he's got a decent line. Maybe sliding Jordan there now is going to free up, Andrei to be a little bit of a different player, versus the Kotkaniemi. Or if we get our second line center, at some point, to free up that ability for him to do what he does best. And, but again, like, it's hard. It's one thing. He and Natchez together, I don't know. I don't know if he's found the right fit for him yet. In his mind anyways. Yeah. And I think he just plays way too soft with the puck too. I mean, I think bottom line, he's too much of a finesse player or he thinks he's a finesse player. When what he really is he's a really strong, heavy power forward that is not playing like a strong, heavy power forward at the moment. And I think that's the difference. And he's trying to play like something he's not. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm making it up. I don't know. Who the hell knows? But that's what I think out of Andrei Svechnikov.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. I mean, I don't think he has his role for sure. And I think we're getting caught up in like how much he makes and stuff. So I think that plays a factor in a lot of this because I think he's the second highest paid guy on the team,
Yep.
second or third.
The
So, I
second.
mean, with that comes certain expectations, but maybe the expectations that the team has for him is like, hey, we just need you to be like a point a game. Like that's what we need you to be because we know that you'll be on a line with two other guys maybe that are getting a bunch of points. So I don't know. I don't really know what the Hurricanes' expectations for him are. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming they're just wanting him to score as many as possible. And yeah, he's just not doing it. So
Yeah. I mean, even if his expectations are a point a game, I mean, he's 27 points through 38 games right now. He's almost at
yeah,
half a
no,
point a game. Like, yeah, it's definitely a little over. He's at like one or like point whatever, 7, 6 or whatever
yeah.
the number's gonna be. But we like you look at guys on our is he even close to Sebastian Aho? I don't.
I feel like Aho's been kind of up
in
and
the
down.
same.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's had his spurts, but I feel like Aho's kind of been like that too, where
But he's at
they're
least on a consistent basis been a point a game player. Yes, this year he's definitely struggling a little bit more, but you go back through his career, he's averaging about 80 to 85 points every
yeah,
single season.
yeah. So I just think I do think Svech needs to shoot more for sure as well. I feel like he brushes off too many opportunities. I mean, he had one, was it in the Columbus game that it was basically a sitter in front of the net and he just whiffed on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, was it? I think it was, yeah.
Yep.
But it's he's gripping the stick too tight, I think. He's just too in his head about it. And until he can kind of free himself from that, I don't know if he ever will, but just just go out there and play, man. Like how you played, 5, 6 years ago, just without any kind of discourse or anything like that because you were the guy making the least on the team. Like, I mean, look at Blake. Blake's a great example. Just go out there and play hard and good stuff will happen. You know, Blake doesn't have a ton of points, but he's making so much happen out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. He makes a
Like
difference. Yeah.
his points don't reflect how well he's actually played the whole year.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So Svech just needs to get, to that point, and I think he'll find success. He'll find it. It's just a matter of when. Maybe he heats up at the end of the year right before the playoffs. So you never really know. It's kind of one of those things where he goes through spurts of getting a whole bunch of points over a short span of time, and then he kind of goes silent for 2 or 3 weeks. So, hey, as long as he's producing when it comes to playoff time, I could care less what he's doing right now. So
Yeah.
that's kind of more of my
We
push
just
with
we need
just
to
when it really matters, be consistent, but also step up in the big games for sure.
we need to lock him into a room with only Matthew and Brady to chuck tapes.
Yeah.
Just have him solely watch that for hours upon end. Because I mean, in all honesty, that's what
Yeah.
we need. We need that kind of a player. We need a Nichushkin out of Colorado. I mean, that's the type of player I think Andrei can be, and I just feel like he's so focused on. I almost wish he had never scored a Michigan goal because now I feel like he's so focused on getting his next highlight reel package. It's like, dude, just play with a little piss and vinegar in your system. Stop, don't be tummy sticks all the time. Like have a little fight and a little aggression in your game because when you play that way, we saw it in the New York series. Was it last year, the New York series? I mean, when he was playing at his best, that was unbelievable. He had the puck on his stick the entire game, basically, whenever he was on the ice. It was like game 4 and game 5 of that Rangers series. He was our single best player on the ice. Yeah, maybe the points didn't follow him, but he controlled the game. That's the level of player he can be. And it's just so inconsistent, and it becomes frustrating for us fans here because it's like, dude, you have all the tools in your tool belt. Maybe it's nothing to do with the hockey side of it. Maybe something else is going on and it's just been nagging at him for X amount of years or whatever it is. But maybe it's injury. Maybe it has been injury this whole time. But I just feel like we're not getting the full Andrei Svechnikov experience, and I just want it to come. And I'm hoping it's not one of those situations that it never comes for us here in Carolina, but then all of a sudden he goes to a different team and he's 100-point guy, and he's just showing why he was the second overall draft pick. That's the other thing too, is that, I mean, we have the second and third overall draft pick, and yes, we kind of stole the third, but I mean, neither one of those guys has really completely panned out to what we were expecting out of them, and it's frustrating to see a little bit in that regard. Now, hopefully, everybody can kind of make their terms and figure out what's going on, but we shall see. Now we will move right on along to the next topic. So we are right around the halfway point in the season. And so we can kind of get a better understanding on the playoff picture moving forward. And a couple of faces that are almost putting themselves into a locked in spot, and then a couple of teams that are definitely fighting. I didn't realize how close the Metro really was from basically top to bottom. But we do kind of take a look at it. Washington leading at 53 points, first in the Metro. New Jersey second at 51 points. Carolina 48 points in third. The Atlantic, Toronto's 50 points. Florida second with 48. Boston third with 44. And then you have Tampa and Ottawa occupying both the wild card spots with 42 and 40 points respectively. Ottawa kind of came in out of nowhere. They've been playing really good hockey as of late, but they were almost dead last in the NHL for a period of time. And then a couple of teams that, I mean, basically from top to bottom, I guess they're still kind of in the fight, because Pittsburgh in the first place outside of the wild cards, 1 point outside, where Buffalo is in 10th, the last place, in their 33 points. So they are only 7 points outside of a playoff spot. So, I mean, every team's kind of still in it. Who do you think makes it? Who do you think kind of falls off? What are you expecting to see out of the rest of the season in the East?
Oh, wow. I tell you, if it's hard to say, because, look at, was it 2000 and was it 16, 17, when hell, at this time of the season, St. Louis was dead last in the NHL.
2019 season.
I mean, so it's hard to really tell, but I think a team like, I don't know really a lot about how it's kind of Buffalo's up and down, but a team like a Columbus could, if they add a piece or two, they could squeak into the playoffs. Even if they're looking on the outside looking in at the moment. I think they got a really good coach. They got a good foundation. They got an exceptional defenseman. I think if they added a piece or two up front, added maybe a goaltender support piece, they're a team that may surprise some people before the end of the year is done, because they're good and they're moving in the right direction. They're not just kind of floating out there. They're continuously, every game they get better, and you can see it against us. They just continuously push the pace. They play exactly like a Dean Evison team plays. And so I think they're a team. I think from the Atlantic, you got teams like, I always hope for
Let me pose this question, because this is the team that I guess I'm most interested in. Do you think Ottawa sustains where they're going right now and how they're playing right now? Because that's the one where it's like, I think Tampa makes it in. I think every other team that's in playoffs right now makes it in. The only exception I maybe have to that rule is New York, if they ever can figure out what's going on there. But does Ottawa really, do we feel like they have the tools and the pieces necessary to make a run? Because Pittsburgh's kind of nipping at their heels. I don't know if Pittsburgh has the sustainability of this. Columbus is that team that I'm question marked, but I think it's either going to come down to kind of 4 teams in my book. It's probably going to be the Rangers, Columbus, Pittsburgh, and Ottawa. Ottawa's the one occupying it right now. What are you guys seeing out of Ottawa? They're 19, 16, and 2. They've won I think out of their last 15, they've won 12 of them. I think they're like on this crazy hot streak right now. I do know that for a fact. I could be off on how many games they've won as of late, but what are you guys seeing out of them? Because they're getting the pieces that they've been missing. They're getting the goaltending, they're getting the offense, and their D-core actually looks semi, good in comparison to years past.
Yeah, no, I think they're playing really well too, and there's a lot of those teams that are, it could swing so far in one direction, because we're not even halfway through the season yet. So
we're right at about the halfway point.
Yeah, so a team at the top like New Jersey could fall out. They could lose 15 straight and be at the bottom of the Metro. Stuff can happen. I'm not saying it does normally with a team of New Jersey's quality, but yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of season to go. So I'm hopeful for them. They're definitely getting the goaltending for sure. I mean, Olmark's playing out of his mind, and then
Unbelievable. Vesna.
the
Vesna award
yeah,
winning
I
right
know
now.
it's crazy. I mean, he's like, yeah, he is. I think he should win the Vezina. If Ottawa makes the playoffs, he should win the Vezina.
Well, it's between him and Hellebuck because Hellebuck's
Yeah.
numbers are also insane.
I mean, so, but in order for them to win, he needs to play well. So
100%.
I mean, he's definitely a huge reason why they're where they're at, and I think they're just solid all the way around. I mean, there's not many teams that I'm thinking of or can think of that I could see like instantly beating them out.
What about
Kinda
New York?
In New York, if they
New
like you
York's
said,
on
figure it out.
37 games played, so same amount of games played. They're 5 points behind them right now.
I know. Yeah. I mean, they just and New York's kind of just a who knows. They're I think they're throwing darts at the wall at this point, trying to figure it out. They did win their last game. Wasn't like a stomp, like they didn't win like 5 or 6 nothing, but
2-1 over the Bruins.
I think it was like 2-1, yeah. So, it's for them, I think it's just getting confidence that they have this team still to be able to do what they did last year. So, I think them shipping off some pieces really kind of I think it turned it kind of upside down a little bit in there, just sending off because basically them giving up on the team. Like, they said, we don't believe in you guys anymore, so we're going to ship Truba and ship Kako, and that's going to be the end of it. And they're just giving some younger guys a try, I'm thinking right now. So, yeah, if they figure it out, they'll be good. They have some weapons still, obviously. But overall, I think Ottawa makes it for sure. And then I could see them being right there if they do figure it out.
Yeah. Dad, now, I mentioned that I don't have full faith in Pittsburgh. You kind of nodded along. What is it about Pittsburgh that you don't have full faith in them? Because I have my reasons, but I kind of want to get your thoughts on it.
Well, I think the biggest thing for them, the most obvious is I don't think they have goaltending. I don't think they have goaltending to sustain any kind of long-term punch and any consistency over the long haul. I think they're an aging core. So I think that's you're gonna see spurts of them stay in it. Then all of a sudden they're just gonna fall off really quickly. Because I mean Tristan Jarry is a good goaltender. Not a great goaltender.
He's playing well as of late.
He is. I get it. No, trust me, I get it. But he's also had many
he's a streaky
turds.
goalie. Yeah,
he's had many turds in his history. So and streaks of those too. So I just think that's the biggest question mark for me is goaltending and the age of their core. I just think that's just too much to overcome against a team like an Ottawa or a team like a Florida or teams of that caliber. I just think they fall out. And to your point, I think Ottawa goes the way of Allmark. And I think he will be what dictates how Ottawa provides a playoff opportunity for their fan base. I think it really comes down to him. And if he continues to play well, they get in no problem.
Yep. I don't disagree with that at all. I'm just pointing it out there that I do feel very similar to the way Ottawa is the way Winnipeg is. I don't think Winnipeg's leading the Western Conference without Connor Hellebuyck playing the way that he is as well too. But I still think they probably make playoffs. So yes, it is kind of a, best team in the league right now versus team or goalie that's kind of basically being the whole reason that their team's in playoffs. But I guess you look at any team that's in playoffs without a good goaltender, they're probably not in playoffs for the most part anyways. So it kind of is one of those things that, yes, Olmark's numbers are great, but they're probably going to go to the best numbers right now. That's Hellebuyck, so he's probably the favorite for the Vezina right now. But that will be our wrap-up of the playoff talk. As of right now, Carolina has the Devils. How do you like that matchup? It's a 50-50 toss. Those games have been great. I'm betting 4-2 because 3 out of the 4 games ended that way, and I thought the 4th one was going to too. So I'm betting 6 goals on the game. But we will move right along into Carolina's our last topic, and Carolina's jam-packed week ahead of us because it is quite the week, if I do say so myself. They are back-to-backs in tomorrow night and Sunday night against Minnesota, who is a red-hot team out of the Western Conference right now, and then Sunday against Pittsburgh, the team that we had just made mention of. Less than 24-hour turnaround with the 7 p.m. start time on Saturday and the 6 p.m. start time on Sunday. And then we have Tampa on Tuesday at Tampa. That's the makeup game from game 2 of the season. And then we have Toronto on Thursday, and then we have another back-to-back with Toronto on Thursday and then Vancouver on Friday, both at home. And we round the week off Sunday with Anaheim, but we will have talked to you by then again. So we're just going to focus on those first 5 games, because holy crap, 5 games in a week.
Yeah, 6 games in 9 days.
Yeah, that's a crazy turnaround. But this is one of those kind of stretches of hockey where if you can come out with good points out of this, it could really galvanize a group, and especially coming off of a big win against Florida. But I kind of want to take us through each one of the games and just kind of what you see, and then we'll do our full pregame previews day of. But first we'll have Minnesota and Pitt this weekend. What do we got to do to stop Karil Kaprizov? Because as of right now, he's probably my favorite for the MVP. I know the points aren't 100%
Yeah, I think he's out. He's out now.
Right now.
He's out now.
I missed that information. Well, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Not beautiful to hear, but beautiful to hear if you're a
they put him
Hurricanes
on
fan.
IR like yesterday or the day before.
All right.
So he was and is sort of, if you look at it, there's 2 reasons Minnesota's been really good. It's Karil Kaprizov and Gustafsson in net.
Yep.
I mean, he's had absolutely lights out numbers, and they've been the 2 reasons. They've had a tremendous support team with support staff with Baldy and Rossi and those crew, but
Joel Eriksson-Ek.
yeah, but I think those two guys,
I love them.
yeah,
He's
those
so
2
good.
guys have been the reason. So I think it's just a matter of getting to Gustafsson early, getting traffic. He's got great save percentage, so you got to make sure he doesn't see what's coming at him. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing for Minnesota, for us to capitalize against them. And they're a good team. They're well coached, and but we'll get a good look at them tomorrow night.
Yep. Cam, what are you seeing out of that Pitt game on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, I think Pittsburgh's just like, roll the dice on the goalie, basically. So I think their goaltending is just not great. It has spurts, sometimes the guy shows up and they only let in 1 or 2, but it doesn't happen very often. So as long as the Canes can keep the score low in that game, I think they got a really good chance. So if they keep them to under 2 goals, there's no way the Canes can't score 4. So
all they got to do is shut down the Cane Killer and Evgeny Malkin, because he seems
pretty much
to do damage against us for some reason every time. But
and
then we will take a look at that Tampa game. Tampa is going to be probably, in my opinion, the toughest opponent we play this week. They are playing really good hockey right now. That Point, Gensel, and Kucherov line is probably one of the best lines in the NHL right now. I think, as much as I don't like the guy, Nikita Kucherov might be just the best player in the NHL. He might be number 1, in my opinion. He's just so versatile with the puck. I kind of want to pass that over to you guys. I know McDavid's up there 100%, McKinnon's up there, but without having the same speed those 2 guys have and still being able to be that dominant on the ice is something. He's gifted in different ways. He's very much like Karil Kaprizov. Those 2 guys, they're very similar.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that he'll lull you to sleep, because he does things. He slows the game down so well and then he accelerates. He's like one of those guys that he can slow it down and then have 2 steps and be gone away from you in a heartbeat. And I think that's the biggest thing that's the difference for him, is he makes everybody around him infinitely better. And it shows. I like I said, I think he's cocky. I
don't like the guy.
I don't like
him on my team, but
I would love him. Yeah, I would love him on my team. I don't really like him as the way he treats the media and goes out and does all that stuff. But behind the gate, he may be the nicest guy in the world. Who the hell knows? But when he's on the ice and he comes down sometimes and he goes side to side and then moves, it's like the defenseman has no idea what just happened.
Yeah,
he's just so smooth. He's so silky. It's just one of those things that, it's really fun to watch him when he's playing against somebody else.
Yeah. He is the only player, I think, in the universe. And actually, there's 2 players right now, and the other one is Minnesota, but he's not playing. So him and Karil are the only two players I think that can genuinely completely stop moving and somehow get more space. I don't know how they do it, but they will just like go from being like kind of lackadaisically moving into the zone to just stop moving altogether, and all of a sudden they're in acres of space. And I'm like, where did everybody go? And how did you just not move at all? And all of a sudden you just generated open ice for yourself. Like it is crazy to see. And I think there's literally only two players in probably the planet that can do it, because McKinnon beats you with speed majority of 99% of the time. McDavid beats you with speed 99% of the time. Kale beats you with shifty movement side to side. Kucherov just stops moving, and all of a sudden it's like a force field generates around him, and he just pushes everybody else away. That's enough stroking him off. And we're going to move over to the Toronto game over on Thursday. Matthews is out, I believe, as well, too. So we won't see Austin Matthews in that game. Mitch Marner having a heck of a season. He's going to be the key piece to shut down. Different looking Toronto than we've seen in years past. I have watched quite a few of their games. Definitely a lot better defensively structured under Craig Berube. Still not a gold standard team in that department by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely a lot better than they were. They're definitely a more physical team than they were as well, too. I'll pass it over to you guys. Just kind of a quick wrap up of this Toronto, and then we'll wrap Van up, and then this will be the episode for the week.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Toronto, they're a lot more physical than they were under previous administrations.
Probably a little less skilled too.
Yeah, but I think that's okay for what Toronto needed. They sort of, they needed to downsize their skill and upsize their physicality. And I think that's really helpful for them. And I think Berube's doing a really good job on getting them there. So it's really going to come down to who wins that physical battle, and who wins that. And I know we say it ad nauseum, but who wins that neutral zone containment and control is going to contain the flow of a guy like Mitch Marner. And if Matthews doesn't play, I know he's skating now, but I don't know if he's going to play or not. But controlling their speed and getting them, so they don't, spin through the neutral zone and have transition, because you both know how shitty we are against transition. So I think
we're playing against Florida, because apparently we're real good in that one.
Yeah, we figured it out, I guess, but at the same time, I think that's going to be the difference in the Toronto game is control the pace of the game, control the forecheck. If we get to our forecheck early, I mean, Toronto's not good enough on the D side that we'll control the offensive zone. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. If we do that, we'll be just fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, the Toronto is a really good team for sure. I mean, I think they're starting to figure it out. I mean, they're getting better defensively than they have been. It's always been just firepower for them. Like, can the four guys that they have produce enough goals for them to win the game? So they're like that. I also think Vancouver's like that as well. Like, going into that Vancouver game, is they're the same way. I feel like they have a couple guys that if those specific guys aren't going, then the team is just a shell of itself. And, that's why you're seeing, trade rumors for Elias Pettersson out there. So, it's crazy, but it's
that, and him and JT Miller hate each other.
Yeah, that too.
Him and JT Miller can't stand each other. I don't get. I don't think I've ever had a teammate where I actually despise them to the point where they don't want to be on the same ice. Like they talking about getting each other off the same power play because they don't want to be on the same ice as each other. I'm like, that's how crazy. Are you that bad of in that bad of turmoil? And in all honesty, if one of the two is getting traded out of there, I wouldn't be surprised if it's JT Miller.
Yeah, me too.
Because of the fact that he's 30 years old and he's on a bigger he's on a longer contract than they probably want him on anyways. And then on top of that, Elias Pettersson is supposed to be your future. Like, that's the guy you want to build around. And let me just say, if Carolina could add, I know we didn't talk about this in the trade targets. Carolina could add JT freaking Miller. That's the perfect fit. That is what Carolina needs to a T.
But, I said a big nasty forward.
100%. Yeah. We just didn't mention the name JT, but that's a perfect name.
Bill. Yeah, he fits that bill.
Yep, 100%. The issue is I think Vancouver would probably want Marty Natchez in return. I'm not saying I would do it, but I would do it. Anyways, that is where we will leave it for you guys. So that is another episode. That is episode 48 of Canes Local. If you guys liked it, please like, subscribe, comment, do all that fun stuff to the YouTube channels, all of our social media pages. We're on X and on Instagram right now. I'm going to be building a TikTok here soon, so follow us there as well. And then also subscribe to us over on Apple Podcast and Spotify. We're on those channels as well. But that'll be another episode of Canes Local. Thank you for listening.